We have been talking a lot, of course, about tariffs for the last couple of days. And one of the things, and we talked about this actually a couple of weeks ago, I don't think specifically tariff related, but maybe job related more than anything else, was restaurants in this country and how they were going to be affected. Well, now we've arrived at the point where the tariffs are in place. And I'm reading yesterday in a press release from Restaurants Canada, representing, by the way, for people in case you're wondering, about a million Canadians, just over a million Canadians in that sector, contributing $120 billion annually to the Canadian economy. And now that these tariffs are in effect, there are some issues that need to be dealt with. So Richard Alexander is the vice president at Restaurants Canada. He is on the line. Mr. Alexander, I understand you are actually in Washington, D.C. as we speak.
Yeah, absolutely. I attended a congressional reception and got more stuff planned for the next few days.
So you and all other Canadians, I guess, are waiting with bated breath to see if anything develops later today, which is still a possibility. But for this idea of, considerations that you and people in the industry are looking for, tell us what it is you are asking the government to do or consider.
Yeah, so as you said in your preamble there, we're the fourth largest private sector employer in Canada. And a lot of the items that are being tariffed and potentially retaliatory tariffs, those are related to, a lot of them are related to food. So we're going to be one of the industries that are going to feel the effects of this almost immediately. And we're worried about our employees. We have a lot of employees and they're going to be hurt by this. They'll probably see some job losses, some business closures. So we've said to government, look, we just finished the GST, HST holiday. We know that holiday created 34,000 jobs over that holiday period in our industry. So, why should government be taxing food at a time when people are struggling with affordability and we've got these tariffs? Not only will it help Canadians with affordability, but it will keep some people employed in our industry, and I think that's a very good policy.
So beyond the idea of extending that GST credit, because I'm guessing that's what you're describing here, is there anything else you want the government to be aware of?
Yeah, so everybody and their dog is out there asking for exemptions from retaliatory tariffs. We're taking more of what I'll call the Team Canada approach. We know that the government has to do this, and we support government with the retaliatory tariffs. But there are certain items in our industry that are almost impossible for us to source other places and access. Those would be things like lettuce, tomatoes, potatoes, believe it or not, and food safe packaging. So, other things like limes or lemons from the States, we can probably get away without using those. But those items, if they were removed from that retaliatory tariff list, that will help some people keep people employed.
I'll tell you, as I hear you describe the items, I'm thinking to myself, lettuce, tomato, these are things we can get here. Now, obviously, we can't get them year round, but if we're not getting them from the U.S., which I guess is the natural place they'd be coming from, what other options do you have, or what other options do restaurateurs have?
Well, we have restaurants that are looking right now and have been looking to see if they can source product. But the problem with it is there are locations like Mexico where we could potentially get some product from, but everybody is looking for the same thing. And it's going to be very difficult, if not impossible, to find an alternative supplier for those products.
The other issue, I guess, is you're saying everybody's now looking, of course, panicking and looking at the same time. And I wonder at some point if these tariffs, let's assume they stay in place, right, until we know they're not. The question then becomes how much of this actually can get passed on? Like how much pain can someone in the industry feel before that pain has to be passed on to the consumer?
Yeah, for our industry, we've seen, the increasing costs in food. Food is already up double digits from where it was a few years ago. So we're already dealing with that, and that's led to about half of the industry not making any money, either breaking even or operating at a loss. So this tariff war, although it's not of our doing, it will have an impact on the jobs and the ability of restaurants to survive this. So it's going to be a very, very difficult time for this industry.
I'm sure as you look forward, you have to sort of make these projections as difficult as they may be. If we can look at the worst case scenario here, what are we talking about in terms of businesses that will simply have to close up, lay off staff?
Yeah, I wish I knew the answer to that. We don't know the list of retaliatory tariffs yet, so that will have a big impact on the success of businesses to stay afloat in our industry. We've also been lobbying to get rid of these absolutely ridiculous interprovincial trade barriers. Provincial governments seem to be on board with that. That will help for us to access things like alcohol from other places and lower the cost of transportation. So anything we can do around that, I think, will help the industry for sure.
It's funny you say that. I heard the Bloc Québécois leader today, Yves-François Blanchet, basically suggest there's no such thing as interprovincial trade barriers. So, which struck me as pretty unusual, given the fact that, from what we understand, Quebec has more of them than any other province. So, how would that help you? Beyond the alcohol, what else would it mean?
Mainly transportation costs, right? So I don't know what the Premier of Quebec was talking about there. I worked on the Canada Free Trade Agreement years ago, probably about 10 years ago now, and there is a lot of protectionism in Canada. Things like transportation. You put stuff on a truck in New Brunswick, sending it to Ontario, it passes through Quebec, and it has to have a different first aid kit. Stuff that is really, really low-hanging fruit that would reduce cost. It's a burden. It's a burden for transporting stuff back and forth. We know that there's issues with supply of chicken. Each province has their own quota. So there's things that can be done, and never waste a good crisis, I guess. So we're in a crisis now, and it would be great if the provinces could follow the lead of like Nova Scotia, New Brunswick, and some others that have said let's just get rid of this ridiculous interprovincial trade barrier stuff that's been in Canada forever.
I would ask you as well, I don't know if it's fair to ask, but I mean, have you talked to people on the U.S. side in the same business, and have they voiced concerns as well, or have you not done that?
Absolutely. I've been talking to congressmen, I've talked to senators, I've talked to some of the large restaurant chains down here in Washington. I would say what was not surprising, but surprising was that there's a number of issues that the industry is dealing with down here with the new administration. There's deportations of illegal immigrants that's happening. There's a whole bunch of other things. Tariffs are in that mix, but it wasn't really resonating as how impactful this was going to be on Americans. And then after the tariffs were announced by Trump, the retaliatory tariffs, I can assure you they're paying attention to it now. It was almost something nebulous that they weren't really thinking about or worried about to the same extent that Canadians were, for sure.
Yeah, interesting that it took that to kind of wake them up and realize what it could do to their economy, just not specifically only ours.
Yeah, absolutely. But they're aware of it now, and we work with a number of trade negotiators that have been involved in this for quite some time. Previous trade agreements and dispute tariff wars and things like that. And the advice that what they're saying to us is like the only way that you're going to get the Trump administration to move on this is if the Canadian tariffs and the American tariffs increase, get inflation to go as high as possible and as quickly as possible, and then the citizens of the U.S. start to see the price of everything go up, and then they will put pressure on their elected representatives, and then they'll put pressure on President Trump. So that's unfortunately that's what's got to happen. And what I've seen here in the last few days, they need to feel the pain in order for this to end.
Mr. Alexander, I thank you for the time, and obviously all Canadians hope for the best on this. Thanks so much.
My pleasure. Thank you.